We all begin with a whisper in the sula, soft want, a quiet hope, a little dream that says, maybe someday. But here's what life taught me. If you keep telling yourself someday, you'll run out of days. A wish without a plan is just a ghost of potential haunting your heart. And if you don't take charge of your direction, you'll become a passenger on someone else's journey. Let me ask you something. Have you ever felt the ache of knowing you were meant for more, but watched years pass with nothing but intentions to show for it? That ache, that's your spirit starving. See, life doesn't respond to wishes, it responds to resolve. And in the next few minutes, we're going to talk about how to take that faint desire and forge it into achievement, discipline, purpose, and finally transformation. I've seen it time and time again. People sit under the stars, whisper their dreams into the night, and call it ambition. But here's the truth. A wish is just a spark. It's fleeting, it's emotional, and if not caught and shaped, it dies as quickly as it came. You can wish for wealth, wish for freedom, wish for success, but without a goal, you're simply dancing with shadows. The real transformation begins when you take that wish and carve it into something deliberate. A goal, my friend, is a blueprint. It's the architecture of achievement. When I was a young man, I wished for more money, more meaning, more control over my time, but I kept on wishing while the world kept on spinning. One day, an older gentleman said to me, "You keep wishing for apples, but you haven't planted a single tree." That hit me hard. From that moment, I stopped just wishing and started building. I sat down, wrote out exactly what I wanted, and more importantly, by when. That's when everything changed. A builder doesn't walk into an empty lot and wish for a house. He has a plan, a timeline, a strategy. He knows what materials he needs, how long it will take, and what it will cost. That's how you turn desire into achievement, by becoming intentional. Don't say, "I hope one day I'm successful." Say, "By December of this year, I will have saved $10,000 by setting aside $30 every day, and here's how I'll do it." That's the blueprint. The Greek philosopher Epictetus once said, "First say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do." That's the formula. Wishing will ignite your heart, but goals will guide your hands. Without both, you're either stagnant or scattered. But when you combine the spark with structure, the dream with design, that's when you begin the real journey from wish to achievement. I learned early on that life is not a vacuum. If you don't take charge of the design, someone else will step in and hand you theirs. And here's the kicker. Their plan for you probably doesn't include your dreams, your passions, or your financial freedom. It usually includes just enough to keep you obedient, useful, and exhausted. That's not living. That's renting space in someone else's vision. In my younger years, I worked for a company where I gave them my time, my energy, and my loyalty. But something felt off. I wasn't building anything of my own. I was filling in someone else's blanks. And one day it hit me. The paycheck they gave me wasn't a reward for creating wealth. It was a bribe to forget my own. I decided I'd rather live a few years designing something hard, something uncertain, than spend a lifetime following a script that didn't belong to me. You have to design your life like an architect approaches a project and purpose. Every wall, every window, every open space needs to be thought out. What do you want your mornings to look like? What kind of conversations do you want to have? What do you want your money to do for you? These aren't luxuries to ponder after retirement. They're the blueprints for freedom right now. The great Socrates once warned, "An unexamined life is not worth living." And he was right. If you're not examining where your time goes, who's shaping your thinking, what direction your days are taking, you're not living your life. You're living theirs. Let me tell you this. Mediocrity is designed just as intentionally as success. The only difference is who's holding the pen. If it's not you, you're at the mercy of someone else's penmanship. So take the pen, draw the lines, decide the shape, and make sure when the building's finished, it's one you actually want to live in. You can wish all day. You can intend to start the business, write the book, build the body, or fix the finances. But without discipline, intent stays parked on the runway while life takes off without you. Discipline is the bridges, the structure that connects your dreams to reality. And bridges, my friend, don't build themselves. I remember when I first decided to change my financial life. I had good intentions. I read the books, I made the plans, I set the goals, but I also had bad habits: late mornings, impulsive spending, putting things off until tomorrow. Nothing changed until I said, enough. I started waking up earlier than I felt like. I made the budget and stuck to it, even when it meant saying no to little pleasures. And I wrote my goals down every day, not just once. That's when momentum came knocking. That's when the magic started to feel real. The ancient Stoics taught, we suffer more in imagination than in reality. And they were right. We fear discipline because it feels like restriction, when in fact it's the truest form of liberation. Discipline hands you the reins. It says, I don't care what you feel like doing. I care what you said you would do. And if you keep that promise to yourself long enough, you become someone you actually trust. See, discipline is doing what you must, when you must, whether you feel like it or not. It's not glamorous. It's not loud. It doesn't need applause. But its rewards are the most valuable currency there is: confidence, consistency, and results. You don't need to be extreme, just consistent. Small hinges swing big doors. Every day you delay is a day you drift further from the outcome you want. The bridge doesn't appear when the mood strikes. It's laid one disciplined action at a time. Lay the bricks, even on the days when no one's watching. Because if you keep crossing that bridge, one step, one sacrifice, one silent decision at a time, what once looked like a distant wish becomes a solid reality beneath your feet. Most people chase the prize, the position, the paycheck. But let me tell you something I've learned along the journey. What you become in the process is far more valuable than what you get at the end. See, getting something, a house, a car, even success, can make life comfortable. But becoming something, a person of character, of discipline, of value, that makes life meaningful. I remember when I was struggling, broke, and unsure. At the time, what I wanted most was just to get out of survival mode. I thought money would solve everything. But once I got around people who had what I wanted, I noticed something. They weren't just rich in wealth. They were rich in wisdom, rich in perspective, rich in self-control. That's when it clicked. The real reward wasn't the result. It was the transformation required to earn it. You see, it's not the $1 million that makes you a millionaire. It's the mindset, the work ethic, the habits. That's why lottery winners go broke, and self-made individuals bounce back from bankruptcy. The outcome doesn't hold the power. The outcome comes and goes. But who you become, how you think, how you act, how you carry yourself, that's yours to keep. A farmer doesn't just grow crops. She becomes someone who understands seasons, patience, timing, and stewardship. That's the real wealth. Likewise, if you set a goal to double your income, you'll have to double your discipline. You'll need to learn better communication, smarter decision-making, and stronger resilience. Whether or not you hit the exact number, you're walking away with skills no one can take from you. As the philosopher Epictetus said, wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants. When your goal is growth, you start valuing depth over decoration, effort over ease. And before long, you realize something profound. The best version of you isn't found in the finish line. It's shaped on the path that demanded more of you than you thought you had. And somehow, you became more than you thought you could be. One of the great traps of modern living is the accumulation of knowledge without the application of it. You see, it's not what you know that changes your life. It's what you do with what you know. Knowledge alone is potential. Action is power. I've met people who have read every book, taken every course, attended every seminar, but their lives looked exactly the same year after year. Why? Because they never crossed the line from education to execution. I once knew a man who could quote every principle of success backwards and forwards. He had shelves full of notes, journals filled with insights. He knew all the theories. But he was broke, unhappy, and frustrated. Meanwhile, another fellow who maybe read one book, took one lesson, but applied it with intensity, began to build something. He started small, made mistakes, but kept going, and slowly success showed up not because he knew more, but because he did more. Learning must have a destination. It must serve a purpose. Imagine a man who studies maps all his life but never takes a journey. Has he really lived? The same is true for all of us. If your learning doesn't push you into motion, it's only decoration for the mind. The books are there to equip you, but it's the decision to act on what you've learned that actually begins to shape your future. It's like planting seeds. The seed contains potential, yes, but it's the planting, the watering, the waiting, the weeding that bring the harvest. Knowledge is your seed, action is your planting. And as I've said before, don't just let your learning lead to knowledge. Let it lead to action, because wisdom without works is wasted. But a little knowledge put into practice can build an entire life. So whatever you've been storing up, now's the time. Take that idea, that strategy, that principle, and make it real. Not tomorrow, now. Most people think success is this big, complicated mountain that only the lucky or the gifted get to climb. But the truth is far simpler, far more empowering. Success isn't magic. It's not buried treasure. It's a handful of small disciplines done with consistency, repeated daily and stacked like bricks. You don't need to move the earth. You just need to move the shovel every day. Let me tell you a story. Years ago, I knew a man who wanted to build wealth. He wasn't flashy. He wasn't loud. He didn't start big. But every week, without fail, he put a portion of his paycheck into a savings plan, rain or shine. He read for 15 minutes every night. He wrote down his goals every Sunday. That's it, small acts. Nothing glamorous. But 20 years later, while others wondered where the time had gone, he owned 3 properties, ran a business, and taught his children the same quiet power of discipline. And he did it without drama, just decision. Now contrast that with someone who lives by impulse. One day they're on fire, they buy the book, sign up for the gym, talk about their dreams, and by next week it's forgotten. No root, no rhythm. And without rhythm, there's no result. The man who learns to brush his teeth daily keeps his smile. The one who waits until they feel like it, well, they lose more than teeth. You see, discipline is the daily vote you cast for the future you want. And you don't have to do it all at once. You just have to do a little every day. Eat the apple, make the call, save the dollar. Write the plan, keep your promises. These are not grand gestures, they are quiet triumphs. But stack enough of them, and they build a life. So if you ever wonder how someone goes from wish to achievement, look closely behind the curtain. You'll find not genius, but habits, not miracles, but minutes spent wisely. Simple disciplines repeated over time. That's the formula. Always was, always will be. You know, it took me a while to understand this one fully. In the beginning, like most people, I thought the secret to getting ahead was just to work harder at my job. Show up earlier, stay later, hustle, grind. And sure, that brought some rewards, a little more pay, a pat on the back, maybe a promotion if I was lucky. But something felt off. I was progressing, but not growing. That's when I realized something that changed the entire direction of my life. You must learn to work harder on yourself than you do on your job. See, your job will make you a living. Your personal development will make you a fortune. You can sharpen your skills and increase your income, but if your mindset, your attitude, your emotional maturity stays the same, life will always feel like a struggle. The farmer doesn't just work the land, he works himself. He studies the seasons, tends the soil, improves his craft, and it's no different for us. When I started reading good books, not just business books, but philosophy, history, wisdom, I began to think differently. I remember studying the words of Epictetus, who said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." That one line taught me more about wealth than any economics course ever could. I began journaling every day, reflecting on who I was becoming, not just what I was doing. I listened more, judged less, learned from people I once ignored. That's when everything began to change. My relationships, my confidence, even the opportunities that came my way. If you only grow your career, you'll always be replaceable. But if you grow your character, you become irreplaceable. The person who masters themselves disciplines their emotions, clarifies their values, strengthens their mind, can walk into any room and create value. That kind of growth doesn't just affect your paycheck. It touches every part of your life. So yes, show up and do your work. But never forget, the most important project you'll ever work on is you. Because who you are becoming will always matter more than what you are earning. Most people set goals for what they want to get more money, a new car, a bigger house. But I want to invite you to think differently. What if you set goals not for what you'll achieve, but for who you'll become in the process? What if the real purpose of the goal wasn't the thing itself, but the transformation required to reach it? Because that's where the gold is, not in the trophy, but in the trial. I remember early in my career, I set a goal to earn a six-figure income. Not because I was obsessed with money, but because I knew the kind of person I'd have to become to earn that kind of living. I'd have to become disciplined. I'd have to study when I felt like relaxing. I'd have to practice leadership, face rejection, and manage my emotions. The income was just the byproduct. The man I became, that was the reward. Set the kind of goals that demand growth. A goal that doesn't challenge you will never change you. You see, if you can accomplish it with who you already are, it won't make you more than who you already are. But if your goal requires patience you don't yet have, skills you've yet to build, and courage you've yet to develop, then it's the right one. That's how you move from wish to achievement. Think of the blacksmith. He doesn't just mold the metal. He shapes his own hands, strengthens his arms, deepens his focus. Every hammer strike changes the steel, yes, but it also changes the man. That's what a worthy goal does. It forges character. The great poet Virgil said, "Fortune favors the bold, but I say fortune honors the transformed." So don't aim for easy wins. Aim for the kind of target that makes you rise to meet it. Because what you get will fade, but what you become, that lasts forever. Everyone loves to dream. Everyone loves the idea of standing at the top of the mountain, soaking in the view. But here's the truth that separates the dreamers from the achievers. The climb only happens with a plan. Vision is powerful, yes, it's the spark, the inspiration. But vision without a plan is like setting sail without a map. You may feel the wind in your sails, but you'll drift in circles, hoping luck delivers you to the shore. I've seen it too many times, people with great ambition, wonderful ideas, burning desire, but no roadmap. They say, I want to be wealthy, but they haven't calculated how much they need, how long it'll take, what skills they must develop, or what habits they must break. That's not a goal. That's a wish with lipstick on it. The magic is in the plan, the clarity, the structure, the little steps that lead to the big picture. When I was starting out, I didn't just say, I want to succeed. I wrote down exactly what that looked like: income goals, health goals, time goals. Then I worked backward and asked myself, what do I need to be doing today, this week, this month, to move closer to that? I didn't just cast a vision, I carved a path. The old proverb says, a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. But it doesn't end there. That journey also requires direction landmarks, checkpoints, a timeline. A farmer doesn't just pray for a harvest. He lays out the field, prepares the soil, plants in rows, waters regularly. That's how harvests happen. So yes, let your vision inspire you. Let it stir your spirit. But don't stop there. Put pen to paper. Turn that vision into strategy. Because it's not the dream that changes your life, it's the design. The mountain will not climb itself, and neither will your future. Now that we've walked the road from wish to achievement, I'll leave you with this. Your life is a canvas, and every decision you make is a stroke of the brush. Don't wait for perfect conditions. Don't wait for someone to hand you the map. You have within you the ability to decide, to act, to build, The smallest disciplined effort today beats the grandest intention left for tomorrow. It's not enough to wish. Everyone wishes, but few choose, few commit, and fewer still persist. The difference between a dreamer and an achiever isn't talent, and it's not luck, it's direction, discipline, and the daily decision to show up. If you've been drifting, it's time to grab the wheel. If you've delayed action, it's time to begin. If you've wished long enough, it's time to build. The good life doesn't come from chance, it comes from change, and change begins now. So here's your call to action. Go home, sit quietly, and design your life like your future depends on it, because it does. Choose a new direction. Set a goal so powerful, it demands your growth. And then move today. Your journey from wish to achievement starts with a single step. Take it.